Taterskin and the Eco-Defenders, Book 2, Tell It to Future Generations, Chapter 45. In the jungle, the Tareena warriors had arrived at one of the largest cattle ranches. Somebody else who was on the same wavelength had beat them there, though. It was Ravel, tipped off by the animals of the forest as to the existence and whereabouts of the mega ranch. Not knowing the Tareena's language, nor Portuguese, and the warriors don't know English, Ravel used Scarlet as his interpreter. The Tareena warriors were glad to find out that Ravel and his group of four-footed and flying friends had the same goal as them, to free the cattle and lead them out of the basin. Using his Doolittle prior to Scarlet's arrival, Ravel had already convinced the cattle to go out on a wild cow strike. The cattle wanted to return to the Pantandal, and that coincided with what Ravel's group and the Tareenas wanted for them too. And so the answer to the age-old question, who left the barn door open, turned out to be Ravel and the Tareena warriors had. And they did it deliberately. It was not an oversight. With the first part of their mission accomplished, the Tareenas bid adieu to Ravel and the animals, adding that they could be counted on for any help that was needed in the future to keep the basin free of ranchers, farmers, loggers, and miners. Driving thousands of beeves through the forest would normally be a daunting challenge, but the Tareenas took advantage of the Trans-Amazonian Highway, the building of which had already begun. What would have taken much longer was thereby reduced to a 40-day trek through the jungle. From this point forward, the highway was to be used only as an exit for those being evicted. Once all of the interlopers were gone, the animal residents would dismantle the road. For the most part, though, merely leaving it alone would allow the forest to cover the highway over soon enough, as if it had never existed. Soon after the Tareenas and livestock had disappeared southward into the forest, the sound of angry buzzing was heard coming from the other direction, to the north of Ravel's current location.